good morning, Joel. Hope you're doing well. There's two significant changes to the sheet, so I need to make a video to make a reference to those changes that we made. Now, the dashboard, you can see, it used to be called the search tool, right? So this would probably have to be renamed or deleted because it's now called the dashboard. So this video is going to replace that, and I'll show you how to use the dashboard. And it's quite self-explanatory really, because we've got like a breakdown where it looks at the monthly pivot, the daily pivot, the 7-day average price, the sentiment shifting over the last week, over the last day. The static check, in case you're wondering, is it checks if we're above or below 50%. The herd are long, so we should expect price to fall, and it did. That there's a daily open and a weekly open. So those two are quite important metrics. Is that we ended up below where we opened on the week. So on a big time scale, that's quite bearish, okay? Because we opened here, say, and then price fell, and this is where we closed. So technically quite bearish. So weekly open is actually quite a bearish metric there. And there's the distance between those values. There's a nice little pie chart to say that they're actually quite long on their volumes, and they really went long on their sentiment as well. Because of that, because they've gone long, there has to be someone to sell it. Now, this is the key thing about the sentiment, is that you have to understand that when the herd go one way, they create a supply or demand, because it's when they buy, there has to be someone to sell, and so it kind of makes a institutional, sentimental supply and demand levels, where say for example they went long, then that would be a resistance, because if they're trying to go long, there has to be someone to sell it, and that will then be a resistance. So it should come down, and where they went long, that would be then like a supply. Okay, so let me know if you need any queries. We talk about it all the time in the Discord, so you'd be welcome to join that if you like. More than welcome. And there's the patreon.com up here as well, /QDB, and they've got a free trial and a 7-day free trial. Please note though, on the trial you'll have access to the sheet, but I won't unlock the search tool until you've gone fully live with us, because it takes a little bit of there's a little bit of work for me to add you to the edit list. So there's the EURUSD. Or before we talk about other pairs, just note this is what happened on the EURUSD. And at that point here is that they went long. And because they went long, we created a supply. Now, if you draw a box, that's going to be a resistance box now, this candle. Actually, here. So, they got initially paid, perhaps. They did. Yeah, they got paid a tiny little bit. Looks like a trap. So this candle here would then be a resistance. So you can map a box on that, and then we should see that wick high, this box should come into play. Because they've gone long, they get punished. And then if we come up, it will just mean that if we do come up, they'll get paid, and that would be unusual. So we should see some resistance here on that candle there, because they've gone long. Oh, it's a doji here, sorry, excuse me. The dojis are quite interesting because that's when we have the interchange of positions. So technically it's an indecision candle. Sentimentally, it's an indecision point as well. And that might be, conducive to the sentiment when we have a big unknown, outcome on a particular time frame. That can also help flip the herd sentiment. So this is that doji here. So when you do see dojis, we can see indecision and the flip on the sentiment as well, which is really interesting. So that's a recent discovery of ours, is the doji and the crossover, and it happens quite a lot. So there's the euro, and I guess we can just go through. So we are bullish, but we're not extremely bullish. Yeah, I mean the bulls are getting paid a little bit as well, so that would be fairly unusual for any currency pair. Is that they should be at a loss. God, their break even is 646 pips away. Right, so think about that. This is how powerful the sentiment are, and how useless the retail traders are. Their break-even price is 138. Live price is 144. They're 646 pips in drawdown. Okay, and these guys are making 198 pips in profit. So that's a very, very skewed metric, and I can show you some other cross-gen as well. But it's really just a video, really just to say about the two changes and how you can use the sheet, and what you could do potentially on if you've got like a sort of longer term look, you could be looking at your pivots as well. You know, so if we're below the monthly pivot and weekly pivot, quite bearish, and then you're looking to probably target support. MS3 is 124.75, MS2 is 125.72, MS1 is 126.24. So we could get to MS1, which is 70 pips away. Possible, and these are very, very strong levels. So you could look to TP at MS1 potentially if you had a short bias. So like, you know, we're not extremely bearish, but we are bearish. So, and that's just a really quick one, really, just to say about the search tool. And this video is going to replace this old one there. And so they're really short GJ, and you know, look at price, the 15-day chart. We're gonna probably have to climb higher because of this. They're really short, and because they're so short, there has to be someone to counter that trade, right? And that's the important thing to note. This is why you don't really want to fight sentiment, because the banks are using the retail traders for demand and supply. So, you know, because they're easy prey and it's easy liquidity. So just a quick one there. And this is just the last time the data got updated, and it happened at 8:30 last night. So that's fine. And then this should happen every 15 minutes, okay? In case you're wondering. So this is the live price is real time, but the sentiment updates every 15 minutes, okay? And that's just a quick one there. So just to say about the dashboard, it's now called the dashboard, but it used to be called the search tool. And the old dashboard is called the risk calculation, but that's a separate video that I'll do now. And we'll just talk about that, but that's an easy tab to talk about. The dashboard's got a little bit more to it, but there's lots of important, useful information there. And note how crazy the herd are on their bets, basically. They're gambling, and they're undergoing huge losses as well. So this is a quick one on the dashboard, and I'll speak to you guys soon for the risk calculation video.